So, good afternoon, everybody. Glad you're here. Thanks for coming. Welcome. Okay, let's see here. What's that? Oh, they already did. Everybody's got one? Oh, son of a gun. Look at that. Okay. Turn to the Chinese side of our Heart Sutra. So those, many of us can handle the Chinese. If you are still learning your Chinese, you can look at the ABCs above the characters, or just listen as the sounds pass by. We'll do that first bold line, Namo Boro Hui Shang Fokusa 3 times. Namo Boro Hui Shang Fokusa. Namo Boro Hui Shang Fokusa. Namo Boro Hui Shang Fokusa. Boro Bolo Mido Shin Huang Zi Zai Bu Sa Jing Shan Boro Bolo Mido Shin Zhao Jing Wu Yun Jie Kong Du Yi Che Du She Li Zi Si Bu Yi Hang Bu Yi Si Si Ji Shi Kong Kong Ji Shi 手上行持一不如舍利子是诸法空相不生不灭不净不增不减是不空无色无色上行无眼耳鼻舌身意无色声上为主无眼界乃至无意识，无明亦无明尽乃至无老死，无老死尽无苦集灭道，是一无的一无所得故菩提萨埵，阿耨波罗蜜多。 心无挂碍，无挂碍，诸无有空，不言理。究竟涅槃三世诸佛依般若波罗蜜多。阿兜罗三藐三菩提，故知般若波罗蜜多是大圣咒。 大明咒是无上咒，不当当咒能除一切苦，真实不说般若波罗蜜多，即说咒也揭谛揭谛波罗揭谛波罗僧菩提萨埵。 Well done. Homage to the Prajna Assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as vast as the sea. Homage to the Prajna assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as vast as the sea. Homage to the Prajna assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as vast as the sea. The heart of Prajna Paramita Sutra, when Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara was practicing the profound Prajna Paramita, she illuminated the five skandhas and saw that they were all empty, and she crossed beyond all suffering and difficulty. Shariputra, form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. Form itself is emptiness. Emptiness itself is form. So too are feeling, cognition, formation, and consciousness. Shariputra, all dharmas are empty of characteristics. They are not produced, not destroyed, not defiled, not pure, and neither increase nor diminish. Therefore, in emptiness there is no form, feeling, cognition, formation, or consciousness. No eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, or mind. No sight, sound, smells, taste, object of touch, or dharmas. No field of the eyes up to and including no field of mind consciousness. And no ignorance or ending of ignorance, up to and including no old age and death, or ending of old age and death. There is no suffering, no accumulating, no extinction, and no way, and no understanding and no attaining, because nothing is attained. The Bodhisattva, through reliance on Prajna Paramita, is unimpeded in her mind. Because there is no impediment, she is not afraid, and she leaves distorted dream thinking far behind. Ultimately, nirvana. All Buddhas of the three periods of time attain anuttara samyak sambodhi through reliance on Prajna Paramita. Therefore, know that Prajna Paramita is a great spiritual mantra, a great bright mantra, a supreme mantra, an unequaled mantra. It can remove all suffering. It is genuine and not false. That is why the mantra of Prajna Paramita was spoken, recited like this. Gate, gate, parasamgate, bodhi svaha. End of the heart of Prajna Paramita Sutra. Okay, here we go. Hold on to your text here for a minute. Let's just start at the top and identify all the Sanskrit words. So, Prajna, start out. Prajna. Okay, good. Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Paramita. Okay, Avalokiteshvara. Yeah, Avalokiteshvara, 7 syllables. Let's see, Kiteshvara. Skandhas. Shariputra. Good. Let's see here. Dharmas. Moving on down. Let's see here. Dharmas. Good. Okay, moving on down. Prajna Paramita. Nirvana. Yep. Anuttara. Samyak. Sambodhi. Okay, good. And then mantra. Mantra is already an English word. And then gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhi, svaha. That's a lot. That's a lot of Sanskrit words. And interestingly, if you're familiar with the Chinese, you hand this to an ordinary Chinese reader or speaker, they will mostly have the same experience, which is so many strange words. This is truly a text that requires you have to encounter it on a whole variety of levels. So one is language, level of language, and the reality of Buddhism having been around for 2,500 years means that starting out in India and traveling as it did to China, to Korea, to Japan, to the US, from China, Korea, Japan to Australia, from India to Sri Lanka to Burma, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand to Europe and the world. Encountering all those different countries, all those different language bases, all those different cultures, it picked up something from every new place. It, like a silly putty, kind of just took on the shape and form and color. Anybody play the silly putty game? No, I'm dated. I'm just old. Do you use silly putty, Florence? Silly putty? Was that something part of your childhood? Silly putty, a toy. Did you have it in Singapore? Okay. So, all right. So, silly putty. One of the cool things about silly putty was you could take the Sunday morning comic strips, which were in color on Sunday morning, and put the silly putty on it and pick it up, and it'd have a perfect imprint with the colors of the silly putty. Now, that's an obscure reference. That's really obscure. Aren't you happy you're not trying to translate? So silly putty. Silly putty also, never mind. So Buddhism is like silly putty in that it absorbs something from every new culture it picks up. So now when it reaches us, for example, we've got all these Sanskrit loanwords. The Chinese had the same experience. So when we're studying it, it's like, what in the world? How do you absorb this text? What can you get from the Heart Sutra? And it requires us to put out special effort on the level of language, on the level of logic, the fact that it contradicts itself over and over again, right? Form is not different than emptiness. Emptiness is not different than form. It's like it requires us to approach it with a whole different mind, a different mindset, and it rewards. There's good stuff to get by doing that, by putting the effort out. Okay, so as we study this, as we go through the weeks here, we're going to, if you return and put in some time with this, when we're done in the next couple months, we'll be able to go through and say, yes, I've got a mental map of the Heart Sutra, and I can, when I read it now, doors open. I remember the first time I read it, I felt like I was bouncing off, like hitting a mirror, and just, I was getting this reflection back, but it was this deep. There was no entry. It was just only, it was just this one plane. And now, after working with this, I memorized it when I was still a layman back in, actually, in graduate school. Professor Lancaster at UC Berkeley introduced us to this text. And so he said that Professor Lancaster was a good spiritual friend, Kalyana Mitra, a Shanjurshi. So he said, memorize it. For grad students, it's like, you don't mean to say you believe this? You're not supposed to believe. You're just be objective. He said, yeah, memorize it. So we did. And I was all of 18 years old at the time, 20 years old. So I've been working with this in my mind, reciting it, just contemplating it all this time. And it's got more dimensions to it now. Instead of being just like a mirror, just one layer thick, it's now the various doors that open into it. And it's quite amazing, this text. So, okay, there we go. That's all of that for today. I wanted to, including, we've, the Chinese is familiar. It's been around in Chinese for, since I think it was translated probably in 700 AD. So it's now, 1,400 years old in Chinese, recitable. I never learned it in Sanskrit. There are people who will tell you You want to go back to the oldest version you can find. Maybe, maybe not. Every different language has its own gifts to give. I know a lot of people who say, I've been reciting this in Chinese for decades, but only after I found the English did I start to make sense of it. It spoke to a different part of my head, a different part of my mind in the new language. So it's not necessarily the case that the oldest version is the best. However, putting it into English is a challenge, and I've been part of 3 different attempts to translate it into English with 3 different flavors in our translation. For example, one of the most controversial words is, there is no suffering, no accumulating, no extinction, and no way. Mia in Chinese, extinction. So extinction is what dinosaurs do, right? Or if it's Australia, it's endangered species go extinct. The last one, dies. America too. So what are the choices? If extinction is not the best translation, we don't use extinction anymore in our newest translation. Cessation. Yeah. So anyway, translating it it's an ongoing thing. It's a work in progress. And one of my best moments, one of my most indelible moments with the Heart Sutra is I was in India at Ahmedabad, which is in Gujarat. That's where Gandhi is from. And I was in Ahmedabad for an event called Gandhi 3.0. And it was a gathering of people from all over the world to come and keep the spirit of Mahatma Gandhi alive and relevant, with young people, and elders, and interfaith guests, and bigwigs, and billionaires in the tech sector, and just all kinds of people. And there was one guy in particular, Jayesh Bai, who was kind of the host, and he invited me and a handful of other people to go to Gandhi's own room in the Gandhi ashram, where Gandhi's spinning wheel is. These people who study Gandhi, he has these famous symbols, and the room was pretty much empty. And they say that's just the way it was when he lived there. Gandhi was completely ascetic. And so here I was. And so Jayesh Bai, the big spiritual guru, says, I would like to invite our Buddhist reverend to offer a gift. Please recite. And then, sure. Okay, thank you. How about something short in English? I'll do the Heart Sutra. So, like something that I recite every single day in Zhaoke, every day. So I'm reciting halfway along, and I forget it. I lost the words. And Jayesh Bai knew it, and he was like watching, and I circled back, and I got down to, therefore in emptiness there is no feeling, and my mind went blank. And I have no idea why, but I stumbled around. I dropped out that much and kind of faked it and came back, and it's like, to this day, I remember, oh, there goes a kangaroo. I remember turning with him. Maybe he came to meditate. Kangaroo just invited me. So I was sitting outside listening. So yeah, came to meditate. So anyway, that was unforgettable experience with the Heart Sutra, and I can't figure out why. And if I'd done it in Chinese, it would have been, no problem. But I wanted to show off. No, there are different versions. Yes, and that's great. Professor Lancaster, who is Louis Lancaster's he doesn't have long to live, but he is kind of the dean of English language scholars of Buddhism. And my first semester, that's in a master's program, translating Buddhist texts, Professor Lancaster gave us our teaching materials for the whole semester, and it was 5 versions of the Diamond Sutra, of the project of the Vajra Sutra, which is the next level. There it is, right there. Correct, on the wall. That's the Vajra Sutra, right there. Starts on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 panels. Beautifully done. If anybody has a moment, just walk behind the Buddhas and take a look. It's really nice calligraphy. So the manuscript that we had to work with was 5 different translations, covering about 500 years of different translations. Kumarajiva, Master Shenzong. This is Master Shenzong, this Chinese. And it became pretty much the default version. But there are definitely other Chinese versions of the Vajra Sutra. The Heart Sutra, I think this is the one, because it's so short that there's not much room to innovate. The fascinating thing about the 5 Vajra Sutras was there was one that just made no sense. And Chinese scholars would look at it and recognize the characters, but just couldn't. It's like, this is no Chinese that I've ever read. And Professor Lancaster said, all right, anyone know why? Can you tell me why this is so confusing? You know, it's just made no sense. And we're all like baffled. And he said, all right, here, and this, to do a really good job in this class, it helped to have Sanskrit, which I did not have Sanskrit. He says, how many of you know Sanskrit? And there were like 3 out of 10 of us who did. He said, here is the Sanskrit version. And he set it down right beside the crazy, nonsensical Chinese version. He said, can anybody compare what's going on here from the point of view of grammar and syntax? This was Sanskrit Chinese. We talk about Chinglish, Chinese English, where people take English words and paste them right on top of the Chinese syntax, and it feels like you're speaking a different language. The Chinese translator did the very same thing with the Sanskrit. They pasted the Chinese characters directly on top of the Sanskrit verbs and adjectives and nouns, etc. So when you saw that, it was the most dramatic. It was just like a key that opened the door. Suddenly it was like, oh man, this is Sanskrit with Chinese characters pasted on top, you know. So translations, there are a lot. As far as I know, are you ready? Okay. Since you've asked, all right, here we go. Let's see, are there more than one Chinese versions of the Prajna Paramita Heart Sutra translated from Sanskrit? Ready? Da-dum, 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 da-dum. Yes, there are multiple translations of the Prajnaparamita Hridaya Sutra. The most famous one is Shenzong. Kumarajiva did it. Fadzang revised it. Amoghavajra did it. And there are others. Okay, so at least 4. There you go. Don't ask the monk, ask your phone. We're going to be totally obsolete in no time. Okay, so we'll come back to the Heart Sutra and look at it again. Last time we went through, I spent a lot of time talking about Shariputra, because his name Shariputra, Sharifu, Shajuva Kongxiang, like that. And I don't want to go as deeply into that again, but the challenge, I'll say one more thing about the Heart Sutra. The challenge to studying the Heart Sutra without having any practice behind it, is that it seems it can drive you crazy because it does not compute. It doesn't make any sense. If you meditate, and especially if you meditate to a place where you experience where you can experience emptiness, just use the words, suddenly, again, it's that key turning in the lock and this door opens up, and now it makes sense. The Heart Sutra was spoken by the Buddha, or Prajnaparamita literature was spoken by the Buddha after his disciples started to have things happen in their meditation. The first thing that happens is the self that seems so solid and so real starts to shake. The view of self appears bit by bit as a construct, something that we build to survive in the world. And it starts as early as mom patting you while you're in her stomach and saying, they're there, or maybe saying your name. Or in the Chinese world, they have Tai Jiao, where you teach the kid, the kid's education begins while the baby's in the mother's womb. She recites it to it, talks to it. We have members of the community right now who are pregnant, to whom the mom is reciting sutras. I won't ask for a show of hands, but I know that's a fairly common thing. And the Universal Door chapter of Guanyin Bodhisattva, the First Door Bodhisattva Sutra are really a common practice of reciting that to the child in the womb, so that it brings about blessing. So that's this is the reason that Prajnaparamita Sutra, the Heart Sutra, came about was because people had experienced the breaking up of the self. This view of me as being a clear, distinct, separate unit with this identity and with these values. When you meditate and sit and really, really look into it, you realize that that's just a habit. All those categories they're not solid at all. They're very fluid. The you who was alive at age 2 is different from the you who's alive at age 22. Likewise, 42, etc. Then the Buddhist disciples, after a while, started to experience the emptiness of dharmas. So the self empties out, and then dharmas empty out. 我空法空. So dharmas emptying out is this uncanny experience of the solid parts of the body, right? The teeth, the bones, the nails, etc., genuinely sort of deconstruct themselves into buzzing electrical components, circuits, atoms, or whatever those units are, whatever you call them. The liquid parts of the body go from steam to liquid to ice to steam while you're sitting there. And it's like, whoa, that's not solid. And then the warm parts and you get very cold, you get very hot, you start to sweat, you start to shiver. And it's just, you go, dharmas, the world around me is not solid, real, constant, eternal. It doesn't stand still. It's in transition. It is totally impermanent. And so the Buddha says, hey, guess what? You're ready for some principles about that experience. 四不异空，空不异四, right? He says, if you keep going, you'll realize that empty space and what you call solid are permeable. They absolutely merge with each other. And not only that, everything comes out of the mind and is a projection out onto what you call the world. It's all made from the mind. And when his disciples experienced that in their meditation, they were ready for some real instruction. That was when their wisdom was starting to make progress. So very interesting, right? This text is instructions. It's a 说明书, right? It's a handbook. It's practical. It's not philosophy. The Buddha is not saying, oh, empty space is solid, solid space, solid things are empty. He's saying you will experience that as you sit still, and you need it at a certain point to help you travel through the next stage of your meditation. So that's different. And it's like, whoa. And once it starts to work for you, you can take any single sentence of the Heart Sutra, and as you sit, you can just say, that is a map. That's a roadmap to what I'm experiencing as I'm sitting here. It's really like, thank you, Shakyamuni Buddha, for giving us this map to our experience. Now, before that state, before things start to really transform, it seems philosophically challenging. However, there are other spiritual texts in the world. In Catholicism, there's something called the Via Negativa, the path of negation, where you say, not this, not this. There are Catholic philosophers and saints and wise men and women who have the same, experience, and you realize that the things that seem so absolute are completely just an agreement that people make, a convention to get along. They're not fixed and solid whatsoever. One challenging thing that I'm happy that we did was change the pronouns. Did you notice that it's she? Anybody read along and get she and her? So this is it a woke document? Is it going to be canceled by the DEI cops, Elon Musk? Maybe not, but she. The reason being, it's the pronouns are. This is beyond gender. This is gender-free text. Guanyin Bodhisattva is appearing in a female form, but that's because it's useful, and people can be taught by that form. Guanyin appears in different forms by choice. So for the sake of being inclusive for women, in people here in female bodies, we deliberately changed the pronouns to she in English. The Chinese, of course, no gender in pronouns ever. 他就是他, So he, she, it. Okay, let's go around this way and say our names, where we're from. I'd like to hear one sentence of what, let's see, that question requires more than a sentence. How about, when did you first encounter a Buddhist teaching? What was your first sutra, first monk, first monastery, authentically Buddhist? So I'm Heng Shi. I was born in Columbus, Ohio, and my first encounter with anything randomly Buddhist was Jack Kerouac's novels, The Dharma Bums, and On the Road. And there was a copy of the Dharma Bums, Jack Kerouac's book. He talks about the Heart Sutra. And I was in 6th grade.
Ben, Zen on the Art of Mechanics.
Thomas Person. Yeah, Zen on the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
Along with Hess.
Okay, Hermann Hesse, Siddhartha. Yep. So books.
Yeah, books.
Yeah, books, definitely. Okay.
Hi, my name is Anne. I'm from Brisbane.
Okay, where were you born on?
Melbourne.
Melbourne.
Yes.
Okay, and?
My parents, well, my mother is very Buddhist from a young age, so I had been exposed to Buddhism from my mother,
Great.
but all in Vietnamese. And I think it was until maybe 10 years ago that I tried to discover and learn Buddhism in English, where it made more sense to me. And the Buddhism that my mother taught me was reading sutras, which didn't mean a lot to me. So instead of returning back to discover and learn Buddhism.
King Yadang, right? 地藏经, King Yadang, is that how you say it?
I'm not quite sure.
It's in Vietnamese, that's right. So take it from me. Yeah, okay, super. Yeah, great. So, Anne.
Yes.
Anne. Okay, Anna. Okay, good. Anne, I think.
Yeah, hi, I'm Eileen. I'm from Malaysia. So my first encounter with Buddhism is through my mom. At a very young age, I followed her to the temple, and if I'm not mistaken, at that time the temple was reciting Tape Chou. So I think that was my very first encounter of Tape Chou. But when I came over to Australia, my very first sutra that I've read was in English was Di Zhang Jing of Storm.
Really? Where did you find that?
That was in Fo Guang Shan.
At Fo Guang Shan. That's what you can say it out loud. That's it. Okay. And it was in English. Was it our translation?
I
remember?
Forgot who translated it, but it was to me it looks like a storybook because it's very engaging.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so when your first encounter with a Buddhist book is the Earth Door Sutra, it's full of hells, it's full of retributions, it's full of boiling oil. Yeah.
Dragon.
Cool. Yeah, that's a heavy duty book to read for the first time. Okay, Sarah. Sydney, okay. Say again. Great.
I think the first time I encountered Buddhism was when I came here to visit Nat.
There you go. Nice stuff. Okay. Kate.
I born in Vietnam. My first encounter the Buddhism is Tabe Chou.
Who was reciting? When did you hear it?
I hear Master Wang explaining about Tabe Chou.
Did somebody? Was it a cassette tape or?
Internet. More than 10 years ago.
Internet. Ah. Was it on like YouTube or something? Or okay, there you go.
Someone explained. Someone translate to Vietnamese. So.
Yeah. So we had books. You had the YouTube. Different generation. Yeah. Okay. Great. Thanks.
You type with two thumbs. I'm not up to that.
Yeah, I can. Can you do scribble? I'm learning scribble. Apples inbound. You just keep sliding your finger. You don't lift it off.
Yeah, and performed later, and I've been here for 15 years. My interest in Buddhism started just before I came to Australia, where I was reading with Theravada Buddhism. I was never interested in Buddhism, but a few years ago I started reading the books Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's where I got more interesting.
Okay. So our books are getting around. This information is not only is it interesting, but it's really useful because I report. We are BTTX, Buddhist Text Translation Society, and when I tell friends that people are actually reading the books they publish, it helps. So.
My name is Cliff. I'm from China and moved to Australia 18 years ago. I moved to Gold Coast 9 years ago. And as everyone in my age in China, we have a TV series called Journey to the West. So I watched it many times as a kid. So that's the first time I encountered Buddhism. It's kind of the Buddha, Blind Bodhisattva, and the monk, Dharma, pretty much got everything. So,
which version of Shioji? Was it a cartoon, or was it the Jackie Chan, or was it Jet Li?
So the mainland China, they had a word in 1987 as a classic word.
Okay.
Kind of human
Was it Zhou Xingshi?
No, it's not. It's a proper.
We had Monkey Madness.
Monkey Madness.
36 TV series.
Okay.
My age, not many TV shows on that at that time. So we watched it every vacation. We repeat watching. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty good with it.
So was it a Lianxuju?
Yeah.
Can-
36.
Can you find it out on Baidu or somewhere and show her?
Everywhere on YouTube.
I want to see it. I'm curious about the one you saw. I'd like to see it. Send me a link too.
I'll
Yeah,
send you a link.
yeah. It's there. This is Journey to the West, People Know Monkey, and we're waiting for a new good one. You know, it's the Stephen Chow's version kind of, took it to another level. Yeah, great. Okay.
I'm Anna. I'm from Sydney. Moved here around 4 years ago. And my first encounter was probably with my parents. They're both Buddhists. But I'll go to the temple with them. I kind of learned a few teachings in Vietnamese, but this is actually my first time doing sutras.
Okay, great. So your parents were both, would your parents call themselves Buddhists?
Yes.
Okay, and from a Vietnamese tradition?
Yes.
And in Paramatta or where? Cabramatta? Where in Sydney did they?
Yeah,
Cabramatta, yeah. It's an amazing town. The street signs are Vietnamese. The restaurants are Vietnamese. The mayor is Vietnamese.
Yeah.
Okay, so the heart of Vietnamese Buddhism in Australia is Cabramatta. Great. Okay. Well, yeah, I hope that this would be not your last encounter with Buddha Sutras. There's a lot to discover. Good.
I'm in the show from Sydney.
Okay.
In terms of my first encounter, I've been to like a few Buddhist temples.
Okay. Great. Last week I ran through 5 schools talking about all the different approaches that come together in the Mahayana, ways to come. And through the texts, what the Buddha said is a door. It's been a door. Joe? Your mom, and what was that? Okay. Does she do it like at night or in the morning, or when did you hear her with a wooden fish, or what was it? Okay.
And I recite
You yourself recited Abhijit. Okay. Nice. Okay.
I've also been to the city of 2000.
Oh, you have? Okay. So you actually committed to travel. Great. Yeah. That first encounter, I have some images. My second teacher of Mandarin, Professor Peng Shicheng, said that he remembered his grandfather meditated every day back in Nanjing, and grandfather would be sitting doing chan, sitting in chan like this, and Mr. Peng said that there was a small boy in the house who was really naughty, really mischievous, and grandfather would be sitting in meditation, and the boy would come up behind grandpa and push him, and then grandfather would like that push grandpa, and it became a test of his samadhi, and the grandfather refused to be disturbed, and the kid got more and more, and he said the whole family would watch this, and because grandfather refused to get angry, refused to stop meditating, refused to react, the kid sat down and meditated with grandpa. I can't push him over. So he says he remembers seeing that drama, first impression of Buddhism.
My name is Tasia. I was born in Taiwan, but I grew up in Gold Coast.
Okay.
First encounter will probably be my family is Buddhist, so it'll be when they're chanting with my sisters or my great-grandparents. I was just a child just sitting there, knowing what's going on, and
So at the 祖师殿, you mean? Yeah. Okay, that's real. And we've just been through 过年. We've just been through the New Year's, which is a whole bunch of, prescribed events that happen as the days of the 10 days. So, okay, great. And tell me your name one more time.
Tatian.
Tatian. Okay. Where in Taiwan were you born?
Taichung.
Taichung. Okay. Super.
Hi, I'm Suyan from Malaysia. And so I think I grew up in a very Buddhist family. So since young, because my mom is, she doesn't know Mandarin.
She doesn't know
She
Mandarin.
doesn't know Mandarin, so she really admires Master Shen because he translates most of the text to English.
Yeah.
So then, not forced us, but so since young, we listen to Master Shen's translate and we sort of memorize Buddhism.
Okay.
And also I'm Muslim. So
Wow.
that's probably the first one that I encountered.
Wow. Yeah.
But my first.
That's the deep end of the pool.
Yeah, but a lot now. It took me 5 years, but I can't remember much now. But my first sifu, I think, is Hong Kashi
Okay.
in Malaysia. So
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I just saw her a couple months ago. Super. Yeah. Good. Okay. Tim?
So you stay here for 16 years now. In my first encounter with Buddhism, then I was 8 or 9 years old. I was brought by my father to the temple to attend meditation, Buddha repentance ceremony. So that was something that I can remember.
In Chinese, of course.
Yeah, in Chinese.
In a local monastery?
I don't remember, but yeah, in that.
Okay. Yeah, great. So those early experiences have a real power. This question is really a useful one when you're in a group of new friends and things. And there's a huge, as going around our circle, there's a huge variety of experiences, and sometimes it's. I have a friend Jerry who is our IT liaison for our sutra lectures. Jerry's mom used to take him to the temple when she went to do a retreat or a day. She would do join in a fahui, an assembly, and she would take Jerry and just kind of let him run free while she was in the Buddha hall, and he ran around and helped the monks do this and got to watch the incense, burning down in the huge public censer with all the smoke going up. And he would go to the dining room and see all the food being prepared for the biandang, and the monks would pick him up and play with him and stuff. So Jerry grew up with a really positive association with monasteries. This is a place where it's really interesting. And kid, it's kind of for an innocent kid who is too young to be embarrassed by he's kind of, there's an age in the Chinese community where kids are lovable and they're allowed to, run around. And he was at that age. So his first impression of Buddhism was, this is fun, this is cool. And he was, picked up and hugged by everybody who saw him. So now, as a dad, he's trying to provide that experience for his son, and so everybody has a different first impression. My first impression came in books, and I was also listening around the circle. A couple baby boomers here, books. I read Siddhartha. I read Motorcycle Maintenance, Jack Kerouac's The Way of Zen, Philip Kaplow's The Three Pillars of Zen, D.T. Suzuki's The Life of the Buddhist Monk. So all of those experiences. I was thinking about, we've only got 10 minutes. Oh, I'm sorry, Florence, I missed you. Florence, 没有你啊. You can't she's a Leo. You can't ignore Leos. Don't do that. Bad idea. Florence.
My name is Florence. I'm originally from Singapore, so I left Singapore at a very early age. I've been going around the world. And throughout my different countries that I've visited, I seem to be craving a bit of spiritual. And but coming back to the beginning when I was my parents and my grandmother and just keeps telling me that they always showed me for that they, even when I was in an early age, I always cross my legs and sit down in a position and I never knew they were virtually pick me up and pick me up on his phone, pick me up. They used to be a servant, hey, what's going on with you? You know, but you know, I keep going to look for temples everywhere I go, and I don't know why. Anyway, eventually, just keep the story short and come and I arrived in I came to Australia from America. And the first time that when I arrived in Australia, I just keep looking for temples so I can find any, right? So I did research. But before then, in 1997, just before 1997, after work, went home, there was a voice that told me to open a newspaper. And then they were advertising there's a whole competition of CTT, DIA, and this, you know, down top Gold Coast. And I went to go to the art center. I couldn't find it. I couldn't find the place. Though that place there, I always take my children to competitions, right? And I couldn't find it. I went down. At just one thought, I said, I have to find it. It appears straight in front of me.
There was. It's a
So
test.
I went in there, of course, you know, the talks were sort of kind of like towards the end. And my first encounter was, okay, well, I'm late. But what struck me was when you were doing the transference in English. Okay,
How about that? Yeah.
And at that time, you know, my Chinese, I studied Chinese for, you know, for 12 years, the typical Cambridge University's Chinese. But I never remember it since because I left so long time ago, right? But I was so ashamed. I said, look, so, doing transfers in Chinese.
Yeah.
And so like, so that was the first connection, and I came out of that room. We went to tables and back and I little sutras all there. And I just read 2 sets of the Lotus Sutra and Shurama Sutra.
Oh, wow.
So took it home, and nothing happens because obviously you're still not there at the time. And I still was looking for a temple to go to, and I found one for one shine. So I actually keep ringing, and someone answered the phone, and the chairman happened to, so I said, okay, I'll take you there. And I was like, okay, the first time I followed you there, the second time I drove myself there. And I saw like a plain stool kind of like studies there.
Yeah.
And I had been very active there, by the way. But anyway, and then the first sutra that was taught to me was the Diamond Sutra.
Yeah.
It was in Chinese. It was too deep for me. Too deep.
It is.
And I you know, every week for about a year. But then thereafter, the planning Bodhisattva seems to be now all the time with the compassionate mantra. And then I was lucky enough to study the Amitabha Sutra.
There you go. Okay. Yeah.
And that's when the connection comes.
Right.
I was searching for. I saw someone with the commentary book, our master's commentary on the Amitabha Sutra. So then I went to look for it, and to cut the story short, I managed to find it. And I first came here. Was Dharma Master
Puncture. Yeah.
And Jilushi. So the very I didn't know then, of course, you know, I don't really know, but the minute she took me into the current, you know, where the meeting room is, the whole room was all alive. At the time, it's alive.
Right.
All the books, the sutras. And I said, hang on a minute, I have this, and I connected. The reason why I connected was because the sutra was all in different colors, the volumes.
Oh, right.
And I remember the
Right.
all original sutras, they were all in different colors. I recognized them, and I said, okay. And I asked her, can I come back, you know? And I just thought, how strange, after 9, 10 years, connections. Right.
Long, the long and winding road, right? Carrying you back. Great. Okay.
I got back to where I am now.
I didn't realize you were there in 97.
Yeah, that's how we got my debut, the original.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
That's me. That has the
Okay.
origin that happened.
That's his fault.
Right? Yeah, and I didn't. It was very strange how the connection is because one day I was invited up to do a talk and Rosalind said, "That's you," and because she asked me to write down name and numbers very close, about people connected back in GC.
Yeah. Nice. Oh, I'm glad to
Can I
find.
also share one interesting
Yeah.
story? I love.
We're done in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
But,
you'll be in 3 minutes.
okay.
I love when you say you forgot about the sutra.
Yeah.
I have the same experience.
Embarrassing.
I went back to, I learned the Greek version in English, right? And I thought I knew it. So when I'm holiday back to Singapore, in Singapore, there's this one center very popular. Everybody will queue up to do the offerings and stuff like that. So one day I went to on a weekday, it was quiet. So I sat down and I said, I'm very pleased. And I think I was arrogant at that time too, because I've learned it and I knew it by heart. Right? Halfway through, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I said, I'm sorry. I like to repeat myself. I like to do it again. How many times I can do it? So I had to paint. Guess what? While I'm painting, the very musical melodic voice actually chanted in Chinese. And it sounded the whole level. And I was shocked. It was such a beautiful melodic. So there you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
No, that's the heart in Chinese.
In Chinese. Well, yeah. I have stories about going to Putaoshan, Guanyin Bodhisattva's island monastery, and hearing a profound voice that was not a human reciting as well. So I'll tell you that story later. If you have one of these devices here, I'd like you to turn to Dedication of Merit. This is the one that Florence said she heard in English. And it's strange how some things stick and some things just resonate. The story of how this came into English is worth telling if you haven't heard it before. We do this custom. There's a Buddhist practice called dedicating merit after any event, like you all coming to put effort into your life, into your body, saying, I'm going to listen to my mind for half an hour, for 40 minutes. That's a meritorious thing. Many people do not ever look within. Life is just moving forward, looking for good stuff, instead of reflecting and saying, can I find a home for myself inside? Can I make myself, my mind, a clean, well-lit place, a safe, well-lit place? So when you do that, they say there is merit, there's virtue created just by that act. And the amazing thing is you can share it. You can give it to anyone around you simply by the fact that there's no fences in space where my thoughts stop and yours don't come. Our minds touch in space. And so we use that connection to become a generator of goodness, like a lighthouse of goodness. And you can do it very consciously by saying, I'd like to dedicate my merit to, and you fill in the blank who you'd like to give it to. And you can say, my grandma, you can say every living being, you can say to all disbelievers, to all people who wake up in the morning depressed, who go to sleep depressed. You choose who you want to dedicate it to, with the wish that, and you dedicate the merit. Who do you dedicate it to? With what end? Would you like everybody to be compassionate and wise? Would you like everybody to be free of cruelty? Would you like everyone to be healthy and happy? So it's your wish. That's the dedication idea. Now, this song came about 9 days after 9/11. The planes hit the two towers, and the world for a day or two came to a stop. And we had scheduled a Buddhist Catholic conference in Beech Grove, Indiana, Our Lady of Grace Benedictine convent, a Catholic convent. And 150 people were planning to go. Half of them canceled because the planes stopped flying. But 300 people showed up. It was just, if you remember at that time, those of you who were watching, churches were just jam-packed for months after 9/11. So here were all these people at the monastery. And the nun, the Catholic nun who was the host, said, I know you Buddhists do this dedication thing. Could you do one in English for us? So we took Yan Yi Ci Gong De Zhuang Yan Fo Jing Du, translated it into the lyrics that you have in your hand. And then we needed a melody. And Lorena McKennitt, this Canadian Celtic singer-songwriter, had a song called Dark Night of the Soul, dedicated to St. John of the Cross, San Juan de la Cruz. And the melody fit just perfect. It just fitted perfectly. So the translation that we did and the melody, we sang that day for the very first time at the end of the conference. Everyone gathered in the front portico of the monastery, and there's a Holy Blessed Virgin, a Virgin Mary statue, a white one where she's, gathering in children or something. And we all went around the statue of the Blessed Virgin, and we've Xeroxed off copies of the brand new song, hot off the press, and passed them around. I explained the idea of dedication, and a Catholic nun said, "Look, that's just petitionary prayer. We do that already." It's perfect. Just, now's your chance. So we sang it for the first time. And I didn't have a guitar. We had a recorder, the flute recorder. I played the melody and sang it. And everybody sang it. And there was this profound silence afterwards. And people came up to me and said, somehow that circle, I came into this with my heart just like lead. And everybody was truly terrorized after 9/11. And so, I felt this burden just kind of go into the circle and then just fly up. I just felt lighter. It just flew away. So thank you so much. So that was the birth of this song, this translation of Dedication of Merit. So since then, this has been included in half a dozen interfaith songbooks. It's probably the best version is done by a Catholic monk, Father Cyprian, who does his own version of it. So please go ahead and make a wish how you would like to dedicate merit for our coming together on a Saturday afternoon. And let's do it. Here we go. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds away to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. One more time. May all become compassionate and wise.